Welcome back to Locking Top Sports. I'm Naveen. There's Josh. Here's Andy. We're going to be taking you through a lot of content today, a lot of different topics in the sports world. We'll start with the Tennessee Vols. 3 sports we're going to talk about today. We're going to start with the baseballs. Tennessee Volunteers baseball. They're taking on LSU this weekend. We'll talk about the main event too. The Tennessee Vols football team. We've got a spring game coming up this week, and we have 2 updates for college basketball. One's with our team. Adu and Awaka have hit the portal, and of course, the big thing in the news the past week or so, John Calipari out at Kentucky, and Pope is in from BYU. Interesting topics.
To say the least, yeah.
We'll catch you up on what's happening with Shohei Ohtani and his translator. We'll talk Masters, and we will discuss NBA playoffs, last game of the regular seasons tomorrow, and we'll close off with our best bets of the week. So, Josh, can you take us through what's going on in the state of Tennessee for baseball?
Yeah, so huge baseball series going on, SEC play at Tennessee this weekend. LSU coming into town. We had to switch a couple things up. Tony Vitello shook up the pitching lineup, injected some fresh arms into Friday night, which I think paid dividends because we kind of got the hex or curse or whatever it was that Friday night was for us in the last few series, resulting in a loss. And then we'd come back and win the next 2 and ultimately win the series the last few weeks. But we finally got the monkey off our back, so to speak, opened up with a big win, 6-3 over the Tigers last night. And Billy Amick had a huge night last night at the plate. It was good to see Billy Bats getting it going, knocked a big home run out for us last night and really propelled our offense. Strong defensive performance also too from the baseballs. And Tony's got them going the right direction. LSU didn't have any answer for our bats last night, like mentioned a minute ago with Billy, but just our whole team, had a great offensive performance. And this is kind of a rematch from last year. From the College World Series, where LSU obviously got the best of us, and that wound up winning the national championship. But man, this was a huge circled game for Tennessee coming into the baseball season, and it felt good getting a win against the Tigers last night. And huge weekend on Rocky Top. We'll have the second game of the series later this afternoon, and then obviously the orange and white game starting at 1:00 on the SEC network. So, guys, did you guys have any opportunities to see the game last night or see any of the stats about the baseball team?
No, but I do have a couple questions.
Okay.
I'm not as familiar with the Vol baseball team, have not switched to college balls yet for baseball. Who's the best batter and who is the best pitcher?
I have to say Drew Beam's probably our best pitcher. He'll probably be throwing tonight. And then our best batter, man, that's really tough because it's kind of been by committee this year. But I don't know, man. That is a really hard. I don't know. I'd say Dylan. Dryling's probably our best offensive player. He had a smash last night that was like 342 feet off of a 104 mile per hour pitch. So you can't really coach that. That guy smashed that ball. And his season home run total so far, we're just now getting to the halfway point of the year. He's got 13 home runs, and dude, just absolutely smashing the ball. So I'd have to give it to Dylan. I mean, he had some big hits in last weekend's series as well. So yeah, man, give me Dylan as our best offensive performer, and then our best pitcher, Drew Beam, for sure.
Um, anything else to look forward to the college baseball season? I noticed that I looked at the lines for who they think is going to win it all, and currently Arkansas is first. And then there's a lot of other people like kind of at plus 1,200, plus 1,000, like us, Clemson, those kind of teams. Like, you think we could get it done? What do you think our future's like?
Well, so college baseball, it's not like the basketball or football's situations. These are all based on series. The best of three. And Tennessee, we haven't done a lot of sweeping this year, but we have won the majority of our series. 2-1. So if we continue to do that through SEC play. We win our midweek games earlier in the year, so we've been battle tested. I think once tournament play starts in the SEC tournament, that'll help our seeding line going into the regional tournaments, and then obviously that those turn into super regionals, and then the winners of the super regionals going on to the College World Series. But yeah, Tennessee probably. I say they'll probably finish, second or third in the SEC this year, just based on the trajectory. But if you're finishing second, third in the SEC, you're finishing top 5, top 8 in the nation. Like, that's just how deep the SEC is. And man, like, I really think Tennessee has an opportunity to make a good run, because we have a good mixture of pitching and our offense. I think if we figured out Friday night, maybe with the retooling of it last night, we'll see moving forward. But with the way that the pitching lineup's kind of been retooled, we get some sweeps under our belt. I think that'll position us to have a little bit more momentum and have a better potential seed going into the NCAA tournament. Yeah, Tennessee, big things for Tennessee baseball this year. But if they don't make it to Omaha, like, I'll be shocked.
One thing I noticed is the in terms of the stats, it looks like this team is like primarily driven by offensive powers, right? Like third in the nation in the batting averages, number 1 in home runs, number 1 in RBIs, number 5 in hits, first in the nation in OPS, slugging percentage. So it looks like very different than, I guess, like what we've seen when the when the baseball team was like really good, like a couple of years ago, driven by the pitching power. So it's kind of a pretty interesting / impressive turnaround. Sort of getting those getting the style and the players that fit the style. Getting them to come, almost kind of like a complete 180 turnaround in terms of like how the team sort of grinds out the victory.
Yeah, last year it was frustrating sometimes when we needed some runs. Like, our pitching was, every Tony Vitello team that we've had, pitching has never been the problem, right? We've always had a stable, strong arms, and consistent, just dominant pitching. Every year he's been our coach. Defensively, last year, I think we kind of had a step back from where we were the 2 previous years. But it's kind of with the transfer portal. You sometimes you miss on some guys or whatever. But our middle part of the infield wasn't as strong last year. So we had some collapses sometimes in innings where we'd give up a lot of runs, and then our offensive power wasn't nearly what it is this year, last year, right? So to your point, Andrew, yes, it is a little more pleasing to the eye on the offensive part of the kind of the resurgence of our home runs and our on base percentage and our hitting. But I'll have to say, like, to while I was talking about if we miss Omaha, I would be shocked. In today's age of college baseball, with the amount of good pitching that we have, our offense I think it's going to carry us. The thing that we really have to fix, and I hope like I said last night, is a precursor moving forward, is fixing that Friday night game and starting to get some of these sweeps as we move forward in conference play. But we have some big conference games coming up. We still got Vanderbilt. We still got to play Arkansas. We got some tough tests moving forward. So I think once we hit those guys that are kind of above us, or right there in the mix with us in league play, we'll really start to see the separation in the cream, obviously rising to the top. But Tennessee baseball is in a good spot, and I think this weekend we'll get to exercise some demons from last year's World Series. Yeah, man, really anticipate big things from Tennessee baseball.
Cool. I guess our next topic will be the fall spring game. Andy, can you give me your thoughts about the upcoming season and what you expect out of the game?
Upcoming season, I want to be optimistic, and I feel like looking at the schedule, you obviously have Georgia, very close to. I don't want to say impossible, but obviously they're top team for a reason. We're not there yet, so that's probably a loss. And then it's really just, I think we gotta win one of the two out of Alabama and Oklahoma. Obviously, would be ideal if we can win both, but just kind of setting the expectations instead of just going full homer. I think 10-2 would be sort of where my expectation lies, and that's just kind of like having the outcome that could disappoint us included. So like losing one out of Florida, Alabama, and Oklahoma is my expectation. So 10-2, I think would be a solid season. Obviously, 11-1 would be fantastic. I think 9-3, I would kind of be disappointed. But obviously, I'm not discounting the possibility that it could get there.
Cool. Do you think 10-2 gets you into the new 12 team?
Good question. I think it really depends on which of the two, is gonna be the loss. So, like, let's say if we lose to Oklahoma early, and at an away game, and then lose to Georgia at Georgia, I think that's enough. Like, you lost two tough SEC away games, and also, like, I think obviously, like, preseason rankings don't mean really shit, but Oklahoma is sitting like pretty high up in terms of preseason rankings. So I think that would kind of, prevent the drop after losing, not as severe. Like if you're going to like a top 5 team and lose an away game, they're not going to penalize you as hard.
Cool. Josh, any thoughts about the specific game and the rest of the season as well?
Man, spring game is a spring game.
Okay.
Like, it gives you an opportunity to see some team parts of the team that you've not seen in a while since the bowl game. You've seen the guys that are, the high school kids that are coming in as true freshmen. You're seeing that that did the early enrollment. You're seeing some of the guys that came in from the portal that you've not seen before. So it's really the first rough draft. That's what I call it, kind of a rough draft. If you want to look at it from like a publication, like an essay of the football team, right? And this version will not be the version that you see in August or September. When we go live for the season, but it'll be cool to see some players that kind of some unknowns about get out there and get some reps in. But yeah, this game obviously it's going to be 1:00 today on SEC Network. But the elephant in the room is Nico, man. Nico, seeing him trying to get a little bit of expectation management going early on with everything that I'm hearing, guys. He's the truth. He's the real deal. He's the answer. He's the Mamba. Whatever moniker you want to give this guy, Polynesian Peyton, from everything that I've heard, not only from people that are close to the program, but people that are kind of, like us, that are just obsessed with it, but don't have any inside baseball, so to speak, on what's going on. Like, and that are local in Knoxville, like the buzz, everything about this kid screams he's going to be successful, and he's what's going to make us take the next step. Because we know that college football, especially at this level, and even in the NFL, it's a quarterback-driven league, quarterback-driven conference, and if you got a good one, you're gonna go far. You're going to probably meet a lot of the goals that you set for yourself as a team. And we have a good one when with number 8 out there under center, or in shotgun. Some guys that I'm excited to see. Dante Thornton, coming off that leg injury that he sustained against Missouri, it's going to be huge. He's had a huge spring. A lot of good film coming out on him from just the Vol social media team, just showing Nico just dropping balls into the bucket of Dante Thornton arms. Speed's back. He looks like he's 100%. Shook whatever lack of confidence issues that he had coming from Oregon last year. I think he's really he's understanding the offense and the Josh Heupel scheme. Playing those wide splits out there and really honing his skills and finding where he fits into the offense. And I think that he's going to give us a lot of production this year. Kind of what we wanted from him last year, seeing all the things coming from Oregon and his speed and the things that he flashed while he was there. We wanted that to translate immediately to Tennessee, but unfortunately, we had Joe Milton throwing the ball to him, so that was one problem. And then two, he had the injury bug that bit him there at the end of the season. He just never really could find his identity and get going, but looks like that's been fixed. So shout out to Dante Thornton. Hopefully see big things from you. Another guy that had a traumatic leg injury, Brew McCoy, 100%. He's just not going to go today. I don't blame him. I wouldn't risk it. This is his COVID year that he's implementing, and glad he didn't go to the NFL. I'm glad that he's coming back. He does have NFL potential. You will see him get drafted 100%. He's incredible talent. So he is 100%, but he's just told people like he's just not going to risk it. He's not going to go out there. One guy that you guys need to be familiar with outside of the household names that kind of came out of bowl season and there at the end of the year. One guy in particular, Boo Carter. Boo Carter is going to be an absolute stud. Write that name down right now. Remember it. And when we come back in the middle of the season when we're doing these shows, we're going to be talking about Boo Carter a lot. Huge athlete. Can't wait to see what he does for our team. And another guy that I'm really looking forward to seeing participate today is Lance Hurd, transfer from LSU on the offensive line. I think that's probably one of our biggest concerns going into the season. When we have our $8 million quarterback back there, we want to make sure he's protected. And we had some gaps and big needs on our offensive line moving out of last year and going into spring and then going into the 2024 season. So seeing him, how he's going to mesh with the guys that are remaining, I think it's going to be key, obviously, to keep Nico on his 2 feet, not on his back. So excited to see how our offensive line looks. And then obviously the evolution of Dylan Sampson. That guy, we know what he's about. He didn't get as many reps last year, but every time that he got in the game, it was a highlight reel. I mean, just go put in the Kentucky tape from last year. Absolute stud. Carried us to a victory that game, and I think they're going to let that kid eat, and it's going to be great for us. So seeing how he kind of performs today, we'll answer some questions that I might have as far as hanging chads on. Is this going to be his breakout year? I with my orange colored glasses on and based on what he showed us last year, I think yes. But it's still spring. Everybody's great when they're going against their teammates, and they're not going up against Georgia and Bama. So I just want to see how well his development and how he's evolved. And then I kind of want to look at how the linebackers performed today. We do have a new linebackers coach, Will Inge. He turned down Alabama to come and be our linebackers coach. He was on the staff for Washington last year with the board, and he chose us over going and following his boy down to Bama. So maybe there's some good connection there, or something's right down in Knoxville compared to the staff that he had been working with. So I'm hearing a lot of good development with our linebackers, and then just our defense overall. I think that's going to be key for us going down the stretch. And then one guy in particular I really want to see is James Pierce. James Pierce, defensive end. He's going to be a first-round draft pick next year. He's probably the number one defensive player, like rated wise, in the country. So hopefully we see some of him. But that's always the narrative with the spring game. You just never know who's going to be out there or who's going to just be wearing their jersey with no pads on the sideline, laughing at the second, third string guys getting reps, because they're all buddies, and you like to see the freshmen and sophomore underclassmen guys go out there and get some run, and it's kind of a day off for you. But I hope we get to see James Pierce today. But I'd understand if he didn't play. He's got a big year ahead of him and a lot of opportunities to make a lot of cash. So that guy going to be nasty too. So to kind of move to where I think the season will pan out, just based off of returning players we've picked up, and just some of the things that I've been following closely with the team throughout the offseason. I think Tennessee's a solid 10-win team. I think we have the potential to eclipse that 11, number. But again, it's going to come down to can we take care of Oklahoma and Bama? If we can do that, I think the only team that's really a toss-up for us on our schedule is Georgia. Nobody else is really there to really compete with us. That's to include Florida. So Naveen, no worries. You're not going to have to burn down the Vol fanhood and dispose of all of your volunteer orange. You'll be able to rep it for many more years. We ain't losing to Sunbelt Billy and the damn Florida Gators this year. And I'm calling my shot now. It's going to be a blowout. I'm thinking 3-possession game. Tennessee's going to run it up if they get the opportunity, and they're going to be out for blood. But 10 wins is my absolute bottom, my ask. That was, the basketball team took care of me. I wanted Elite Eight. It's my absolute have to have. My icing on the cake was Final Four. We didn't make it, but 10 wins. I think we could get in the playoffs with that. Preseason, I think we're in the top 12 already in the way too early preseason. So, I think it's going to be exciting. I can't wait for us to get on a fucking plane and head down to Norman, Oklahoma, and do our show down there and do some tailgating. And I think that's when the season will be real for me. That'll be our first game. So I'm excited. Can't wait to turn on the spring game, because once the spring game's over, man, it's just like, full sprint to fall practice. And then it's football season again. So what are your thoughts, Naveen? Where do you see Tennessee? I know I said a lot. Maybe I didn't say I might have said a lot and said a lot of nothing, but that's kind of how spring is. But let me get your thoughts on where you think Tennessee is going to be this season, and based off some of the things that we've seen in the spring, like what's your overall vibe?
I think 10-2, 9-3 is the realistic expectation for me. I really hope we do beat either Alabama or Oklahoma. Honestly, I think we could do both. I don't see anything from those teams that are like shocking. Again, we have had an incredible amount of transfers away from Alabama. We don't know what's going to happen in the transfer portal coming up. They have money. So does Oklahoma. So, who's to say what the final roster is right now? And that's really a question I have for us too. Like, if I were to like address my top 2 position needs. If I'm a Tennessee Vols fan, I'm concerned about offensive line, number 1, and probably number 2 is secondary. Um, I've seen those guys kind of get like exposed a lot on both sides of the ball. So that's what I would want to touch upon going ahead into the summer. If we can get those 2 locked up, I don't see why we can't be 10-2. You know what I'm saying? So that's really where I want us to be. And I think if we lose to a team, either Bama or Oklahoma away, that's gonna or Oklahoma away, Bama at home. That would be enough to qualify for the playoff, and that's really what I'm looking for. I don't care what the record is. I want to be in the playoff this year. That's where I am on that topic. Andy, any other thoughts you coming in for the portal?
Yeah, we'll be curious to see, if if they're able to pick up anyone. I guess like based on anything that we see on Twitter or other forums, we're not really expecting to lose anyone at least at this moment, right? So, I'm not sure. I mean, I guess we have to see. Transfer portal is always full of surprises. So no predictions yet, but like you're right. Bama, Oklahoma, I'm sure they're gonna go out there and get get their guys with the money they have. So, really hoping to see some splashes in the portal. I feel like it's been a little bit underwhelming. But then again, we'll see. Like spring, just full of like unpredictable things. Like I don't think we can make much out of the the orange and white game. So we'll see how the season goes. But yeah, like I'm with you. I think 10-2, hopefully 11-1, and the foot in the door in the 12-team playoff would be the absolute crushing the expectations.
Yeah, I just want to echo one thing about what you guys are saying as far as the secondary. Anybody that knows me knows I absolutely hate the way that our damn secondary has been playing under the Heupel era. It's not what it needs to be. So for me as a Tennessee fan, I'm going to be very critical of the staff, especially Willie Martinez, right? Our secondary coach, who is our lead recruiter, right? So I'm telling you now, I'm coming for Willie Mack's job if he doesn't get this shit done this year, because it's been one of the biggest things that we beat the drum over for the last 4 years. That we need to improve. So it's either the players or it's either Willie. And I'm more inclined to believe that it's Willie, because guess what? He was our secondary coach under Butch Jones. And we know how Butch Jones' tenure went here at Tennessee, right? And we also know that Butch Jones is ass. We've said that a million times on this podcast and just, Tennessee fans writ large. But I'm telling you right now, Willie, get the damn players in here to fix the back end of our defense, or it's going to be an abysmal year for you. You're going to hear it. The rumblings are not going to stop. They're going to boo you every time they announce you. And there's going to be a lot of fire to, raise the temperature on that seat. And Josh, it's a big indictment on you too, buddy. Fix it. I don't care. We got NIL money. We can buy kids now, right? We don't need Willie, to be a elite recruiter. Okay, just throw money at the problem. We can do that, right? We beat the NCAA. We can beat anybody else for recruits. So save me that. Secondary definitely needs to get fixed. To your guys' point, though.
Yeah. One last thing about football before we transition into basketball is exactly on this point, the secondary, right? We're talking about college football in general, how it's gone, especially SEC, from, low scoring games to 52-49 kind of victories and shapes of games. But
it's old Big 12 football, man.
Yeah. But ultimately it always comes down to last drives, right? So for people that say it's all offense, right? What about the last drive? Like, can Nico play? No, right? Like,
no.
we need those guys out there. even if the score is super high, you need the stop at the end of the game. So don't want to lose the emphasis on being solid defensively.
So we did get some guys in the portal on the back end. We got this kid from Middle Tennessee State. I heard he's an absolute freak of nature. He was just a diamond in the rough. So we'll probably see him in the spring game today, but we need more help. I mean, if you guys aren't too familiar, when we first started the show, one of the things that we addressed was our secondary and how everybody transferred. Like we had nobody in the back end of our defense coming back that we know. Like they're all gone. So we definitely have our work cut out, and hopefully some of the guys that we picked up do return on the investment, so to speak, the ROI. But yeah, if not, man, we got to get rid of Willie.
Cool. Let's switch over to college basketball. We have an update from the Tennessee side. Our big men, Adu and Awaka, have hit the portal. Andy, let me get your thoughts on what you think the implications of this are, and like if you could give each of them a grade for this season, right? Like performance grade, A through F. What would you say for Adu and Awaka?
I would say Adu, honestly, like his stats look good. And we talked about how Tennessee as a team has a really good record when he scores in the double digits and whatnot. But I would say very disappointing, honestly, just because every time he faced against the taller, more athletic, aggressive players, he just kind of like shrank. And we've seen that against Creighton. We've seen that against Texas, Purdue, even Hunter Dickinson at Kansas getting like 25 rebounds in Hawaii. North Carolina, Baycott ran all over him. So I feel like, he was good. He was one of those that could feast against the sort of the less talented players, less aggressive rebounders. But then like when we really needed him, he just was nowhere to be found. Like the last 3 games of March Madness, very disappointing showing from him. So, I would say like overall like a B, because like he did put up numbers and he did well, which led us to the SEC regular season championship. But that being said, it's kind of like we saw the ceiling of what this guy can do for us, and maybe it's a scheme thing. But so I'm not like that worried about losing Adu, honestly. Like, I feel like yes, he was good in his capacity, but also like there's a definite ceiling on how far the team can go. Every time we get those aggressive offensive rebounding team, we lost to South Carolina, Mississippi State. Just in my opinion, like it's not that big of a deal. Awaka, on the other hand, I feel like he's one of those that you don't sort of see on the stat sheet, but like I think he was much better defensively than people give him credit for. So I'm hoping that him entering the portal is just a way of testing the waters. But we'll see. What are your thoughts, Josh?
Well, man, I'm kind of torn because Adu was a pretty good rim protector. I'll give him that. But like offensively, he left a lot more to be desired. I agree. He did have his struggles against the Baycotts of the world. Obviously, we saw what happened in that last game against Zach Edey. I don't know if that was so much an indictment on him as it was, it's just the nature of the beast that comes along with playing against Zach Edey. But if I had to pick between the two of Adu and Awaka, this is probably going to be a very unpopular opinion. I'd probably rather keep Adu because of his ability to be a rim protector. Awaka goes in and he sneezes and he's got 4 fouls. Like you can't keep a guy on the floor. He's not very disciplined. He does bring a better offensive perspective of his game to the team, but and I do like his junkyard dog mentality. But for all the people, and me included, that say Jonas was soft, he was no doubt about him being soft. He was challenged. His manhood was challenged multiple times by a lot of different bigs, and he just shrank. when the moment was big. And but there are some rumblings out there that Waka might be coming back out of the portal. So yeah, man, Adu, best of luck to you, pal. It was great seeing you play against teams that didn't have a big man worth a shit. But yeah, man, you're gonna have wherever you go, you're gonna have to find I don't know, some intestinal fortitude and be able to match up against some bigs for you to have a successful basketball career. He's even kind of done the whole I'm going to put my name into the NBA draft, to get like the feedback. He's not all the way in. He hasn't hired an agent to where he can't come back to college basketball. So he's dipping his toe in the NBA waters. But for Adu, I think they're going to be freezing cold waters. So he's not going to want to take a dip.
Okay. Yeah, just for me, my general point is, if you want to make the Final Four these days, you need a kind of dominant big man, right? Like 3 of the 4 teams that we've seen in the Final Four this year, NC State, UConn, Purdue, have big men that contribute, stay on the floor for long periods of time, can do multiple things, and both of these guys weren't that. Very limited. Not to say that they were bad players or not effective, but 1 or 2 skills versus the 4 or 5 that you see from those other type of players who are in Final Four center wise. So that's a focus, I guess, for Rick this year. Like, who can we get that's dynamic, that can be out there and can stay relevant for an extended period of time, play 30 minutes type of deal. So I think we're at the point where we have to address the massive news that has come out this week. Coach Cal is out.
I'm back.
Out at Kentucky. And Pope is in as the new
the whole thing just shut down. Sorry.
Yeah, you just came out back in, but we're talking about Coach Cal and Pope. Josh, let me get your thoughts about the new head coaches here. Okay, maybe Andy, let's go to you for the time being.
Yeah, so I think it's pretty funny that Calipari basically left a lifetime job. Almost he could have just sat there, coach. I actually respect that. I think he just kind of saw that his method of the one and done recruiting wasn't really working out for him, at least in terms of the results that the Kentucky team fans want. Like, they've not made out of the first weekend in this decade, since they made Elite Eight in 2019. So it's just been disappointing losses in the first round, second round, right? Like Oakland, St. Peter's. Like I think he just kind of like, when you go to a program and as much as I want to shed on their basketball, when you look at them historically, they're a blue blood, very prestigious team, most Final Fours made and things like that. So, definitely their fans have expectations, and I think it was time that they wanted to sort of shake things up, and try to figure out like what the next step as a program would be. I think a lot of fans were probably surprised that so many people had turned down the job, because you kind of think like, oh, Kentucky job, like that's where every coach wants to go, like a prestigious program, and all the glory and the glamour that sort of follows. But I think in the transfer portal and the NIL days, we're maybe seeing that be less of a factor. Seeing how these coaches just turn down, like Nate Oates. It's like, nah, I'm not going to Kentucky. I just made Final Four at Bama. It's the first time we've done that. My fans love it. Staying put there. like from that point on, he can just cruise and he will still be remembered as the best coach in Alabama history, right? So I think he'd rather do that than go to Kentucky and potentially jeopardize his reputation. Hurley, just went back to back at UConn, so like no reason to leave again. I think he can just kind of stay there and cruise. So I think ultimately that sort of dynamics is very challenging, and I think Kentucky fans probably have realized this by now. It's really hard to get a coach that can just you think you can poach, but the reality is it's not like that anymore with the transfer portal and NIL. So
Yeah, my general thoughts. I think this is a follow the money NIL move. So if you see Arkansas and its booster pool, like we all know about Cal's friendship with the guy from Purdue Chicken, uh, funny enough, and then now
Tyson Chicken, not Purdue.
Tyson Chicken. Sorry, Tyson Chicken. And then we have Walmart family, the Waltons, being huge boosters at Arkansas. They have a tremendous kind of low key, under the radar NIL pool that's kind of untapped for now. And Coach Cal said, like in the in his presser, that there's no current team right now. And I think if you read between the lines, that means that I have to go out and buy my team, and he's going to go out and spend a lot of that money and get it done. He honestly seems super happy in that press conference, and I thought that was interesting. Like, it doesn't seem like a shame for him to go from Kentucky to Arkansas, whereas the rest of the basketball world is kind of feeling like that is kind of a step down or a demotion. So I would say, I would say that's the issue that I see. I think that what another story is that I've been reading about is the NIL pipeline was kind of cut off for Cal for the from the Kraft family in Kentucky. So Cal kind of like vetoed a move that Kelly Kraft, when she ran for governor of Kentucky, she wanted players to be endorsing her, and Cal shut that down. And ever since then, his pipeline for money and decision making really went out. So that's part of it too. So I think when you don't have access to the NIL money in today's day and age, you are strapped. And again, like Andy, you brought this up. It's a great point. Like with NIL, you now have people staying for multiple years in college because you can make a decent living. You don't have to immediately jump to NBA. So when you're 18 and you're a Cal freshman, you're playing a guy that's 23, tax attorney, that's cooking you. He may be physically more dominant to you than you, and it's much harder for your team of rookies to go up against a group of upperclassmen. So, Josh, do you have any thoughts on this?
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah. So Mark Pope, like that's the best you could do. A guy that hasn't even won an NCAA tournament game. Mark Pope, when your hot board was Jay Wright, freaking the UConn coach, Bruce Pearl, Nate Oates, Scott Drew. Yeah. Like, what a fucking joke. Mark Pope, like not even the worst nightmare of Kentucky fans could have even thought that Mark Pope would have been who they would have traded Cal for, right? When you look at it, it's like, you're going to the car dealership and you have an Audi and you're looking to upgrade. You might have an A4, but now you want a Q7 or something, nice SUV. You're trying to upgrade, get more room, be more comfortable, right? And then you go and get a Pinto. That's literally what you've got with Mark Pope. You went and traded your nice Audi, that not for nothing, it looks good, aesthetically pleasing. Cut the check out of USA for this old rundown rust bucket Pinto of Mark Pope. So I'm telling you guys, those poor Kentucky fans. We're talking about people that will refinance their trailer to be able to go to SEC and NCAA tournament games. They live and die by what the Kentucky basketball team does, man, and it's really sad. And as a Tennessee fan, like I have to say, I've lost a lot of respect for Kentucky fans because they didn't have the stomach for it. They couldn't go more than 2 or 3 days on a coaching search, right? For our football team, man, we've had weeks. We've had weeks where we've been searching in the wilderness for a coach. Yeah, I mean we had one named. When we hired Jeremy Pruitt, guy, he's up at Rutgers right now, and we were like, ain't no
Schiano.
way. Yeah, we're not hiring Greg Schiano. It's not happening. We did so much as a fan base to make sure that we didn't get Greg Schiano. I mean, we were out in the streets rioting, burning mattresses on campus. State representatives were contacting the president and the chancellor of the university, like, this isn't happening. And yeah, did the mainstream media roast us and cook us and vilify us to be these terrible fans? Absolutely. But guess what? We didn't wind up with Greg Schiano's ass, right? So I'm telling you, I've lost a lot of respect for Kentucky fans. And I know half of them were stuck down in the coal mines. They didn't even know what was going on. They had to turn their headlamp on to read the newspaper down there in the bottom of the coal mines. And so they're getting all this stuff, not in real time. So maybe when they come out of the coal mines tonight, maybe they can start their revolt on Mark Pope here. But I'll tell you, lost a lot of respect that they couldn't even stomach longer coaching search because it was a panic hire. Mitch Barnhart, he couldn't deal with the unrest of the natives there in Kentucky, clamoring, we need our coach right now. So he bent the knee, and I think he catastrophized the problem tenfold by making a bad hire in Mark Pope. If I have to grade this hire, and I'd like to get you guys to grade it as well, I'm giving it a solid D-. Solid D- higher. I mean, it's Kentucky. I mean, if you let those redneck toothless yokels tell you, they created the sport of basketball, right? Everything about basketball is because of Kentucky, right? So you would think the mecca of basketball, right, would be more lucrative, and their administration would be more inclined to hire somebody other than Mark Pope. So real quick, guys, let me get your thoughts on this hire. Do you think Kentucky is down there where I put it as a D-, or where do you think they're at?
I think this reminds me of a good quote by Benjamin Franklin. It says, "Take time for all things. Great haste makes great waste." So what I think that means here is when you fucking deal with decisions in panic, you waste your time long run, right? Like, oh, it might be that we can make the tournament again with Mark Pope. Sure. Like, if you think about objectively what he did with BYU, yeah, I think he did a decent job. I'm a big BYU ATS fan because they do cover spreads.
Sure.
But is he ready to go far and meet the Kentucky fans' expectations? I don't think so, man. Like,
he'll be looking for a job in 2 years, Naveen.
Exactly. So I think it's a Band-Aid on the problem. I think they're kind of worried about, if you don't make this decision now, are you at a detriment in the portal? That's my biggest thing as to why they made this decision in 2 to 3 days instead of 2 to 3 weeks and get a better guy. That's probably my, if I had to put my big brain on and kind of understand what's the big picture, why are they doing things the way they did? I won't say D-. I would put it at C-. because I do think that this guy is a decent coach. But again, like great haste makes great waste. So don't fucking make decisions like this if you got a $1 billion or multi-million
to
dollar
your
program.
to your quote before we get to Andy's grade, man. How do you not pick up the phone and call Bruce Pearl and tell him
I don't get that.
come to Kentucky? You don't think Bruce Pearl wouldn't go? Like, obviously, Bruce Pearl is a 10 times better coach than Mark Pope, right? 10 times the coach that Mark Pope is, or probably ever will be. You know, I don't know if it's to Andy's point, and we'll get to his grade, but where it's in the NIL season that we're in now, that this college athletics with the NIL, it's one of those things. It's like if you're not in a position to where it's like your dream job, why leave? Because the money's always going to come with your NIL. And I think Auburn, for someone like Bruce Pearl, Auburn's obviously spending money, right? So, it's like, why do I want to deal with the coal miners and breathing in all that coal dust up there if I don't have to? And so it's going to be tough for him, man. Andy, Mark Pope, what are your thoughts? Give me your realistic grade on Kentucky's hire here.
I think it's really gonna depend on whether the fans can be patient. And I want to say that
It's a
you know
no.
like I think like Naveen made a good point. Like he's not gonna meet expectations like the first couple of years, but does he have that potential or not? We never know. Like you look at the UConn coach Dan Hurley, right? Before he got hired by UConn, he was at Rhode Island, and he hasn't really done shit. Like he only had like 2 tournament wins, and that was it. But then gets to UConn, doesn't even make the tournament the first 2 years, and then the next 2 years, they lose in the first round, and then boom, they're in the championship back to back. So I'm not saying that Mark Pope is capable of doing that, but everyone has to start somewhere. Like you don't just step into the scene and all of a sudden start crushing like Xabi Alonso does. So like I think there's the patience game that given Kentucky's resources, and if they are actually gonna back him on the NIL money, there's always potential. But the problem is, are their fans ready to accept mediocre results for the first couple of years? I don't think so. So I think it's gonna turn out to be a failure. When it's all said and done, because by year 3 they'll be calling for his head. So
your grade's a F.
No, I think it's still like a C, but just because like I think he's a capable coach, man. Like I think he's shown with the limited resources that you have at BYU, and I would argue BYU, just given the the religious sort of context and all, like it's harder to recruit players to come play for them than any other places, like other universities, right? So I think you got to give credit where it's due. Like he's done pretty good with what he has. So we'll have to see like what the outcome's gonna be. But I think for Kentucky, it's just not gonna meet the expectations. So I'm kind of like neutral to negative C, but I don't think it's like a total failure.
Guys, we've been living on Twitter or X or whatever we're calling it now. We've been living on it. We've seen the panic. We've seen the tweets from Big Blue Nation. We know what their expectations are, right? That guy's not going to meet them. And when you're hot board, going back to the names that they had, that was their expectations. It was like, you either hire one of these guys that are on a hot board, or I'm selling my season tickets. I'm done with them. Whatever. He's not going to get the job done, fellas. Mark Pope, he's still going to come down every year to Knoxville, and he's going to take on the Deacon, right? It's going to be the Deacon versus the Pope, and the Deacon's going to keep owning those inbred hillbillies up in Kentucky, like he has been since he's been in Knoxville. So We'll see. I think my D- grade, barely passing. They attempted. They wrote their name on their paper and turned it in. They did the bare minimum. I think that's what Mitch Barnhart did for Big Blue Nation, unfortunately. And we'll try to get Kyle on here, maybe in the near future, to let him unpack after he's had a couple of days or a week or so to cope, because that's all they're doing. They have to cope. And I know we spent a lot of time on this segment, but it's worth victory lapping against those dullards multiple times, because they got exactly what they asked for. Now, I would say this is a great precursor, right, for all those people that want to bash Rick Barnes and the fire Rick Barnes folks, right? Who you gonna get if you get rid of Big Rick? Who you gonna get, right? And that, I think Kentucky has found themselves in this situation. Let's get Cal out of here. We're Kentucky. And Tennessee, let's be realistic. Tennessee is not Kentucky, right? We don't have the resume that the Kentucky men's basketball program has by any stretch of the imagination. But I'll tell you, over the last 10 years, I think Tennessee's obviously been a better basketball program, in large part due to what Rick Barnes has done for us. So I think we have to be very cautious moving forward, and not just us, but any team out there, especially now in this NIL season of college athletics, of who you gonna get if you're pretty good. You think you're going to be elite just based off of what you hang up in the ceiling? Because I think that's what Kentucky did. Their brand, oh yeah, we're going to get whoever we want. Just write a blank check, name the price, and now they're with Mark Pope. So hate to see it, but that's just where we're at. Good luck, Kentucky.
Cool. I wanted to just give you guys a quick update, shifting gears here a little bit, about some big gambling related news in the NBA. Shohei Ohtani and his translator, the saga that's been going on, it's come to like a relatively fast conclusion. So I'll kind of summarize what we know has been happening after the recent updates. So Ipe has now been listed to be prosecuted adjacent to Matthew Boyer, who's the bookie in this gambling scandal. Shohei Ohtani sat down with the IRS and investigators and handed over his cell phones, and they went through text. And really, there's no connection between Ipe and Shohei about betting in the text so far that they've recovered at all. So now backtracking a little bit, when Shohei moved to America, Ipe helped him open up a bank account, and he had logins to pretty much every single account that Ohtani had, and he kept his agents financially isolated from the accounts, along with the financial advisors. So apparently they never had access to most of the accounts, because Ipe said that Shohei wanted to be a private person. So back to the scandal now.
That's strong. That's strong right there.
Yeah. So text messages between Ipe and the bookie make it seem that Ipe represented himself as he was being bankrolled by Ohtani, and that's the way he kind of like made it seem to the bookie. And I'm guessing that's why Ipe was able to get all these balance increases. Like, I read the text messages between Ipe and the bookie. It's like, hey man, can you bump me another 500K? Hey, can you bump me at 500K? We've all done that text. Like,
yeah, we've all been there. Hey man, ATM fees are wrecking me right now. I need some help.
Yeah. So, I mean, the summary of the story is that no matter what, Ipe is very, very guilty in all of these. He's going to be going to prison for a long time. The initial report was that he embezzled or stole $4 million, but now it's up to $16 million as the current estimate.
Wow. So he went from, I'm going to white collar prison to pound me in the ass prison.
I think so, man. Like, I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know what the hell's going to go on to this. I want to ask you guys two things. One, if you're Ohtani, what do you do now? My personal thinking is you have to fire every
Fire
single
everybody.
person associated to you. Second question is, if is this the fastest you've ever seen any investigation by the U.S. government or the IRS ever in your life? Because I didn't know that the government could move this fast. This is tremendously quick resolution, and that's a little fishy to me. So, Josh, let's start with you on the first question. If you're Ohtani, what do you do?
To your point, man, fire everyone. Like, if you have that many people around you that can't advise you to say, hey, there's something going on. This, it's like you said, it smells a little fishy.
Mhm.
You just gotta just burn the whole thing down and then just start from scratch, right? You really gotta be deliberate on vetting the people that work for you, to make sure they're not some bad, nefarious actors that's going to try to, you know, I guess, be a predator, because essentially that's what happened here. His being naive and just thinking that, oh man, I'm just a baseball player, man. I'm just going to go out and do my thing, and just let my people that I got, take care of everything else. Yeah, dude, you've got to be a little bit more aware of your personal business dealings, and not be so naive. I would say he's got to hire some people that he absolutely trusts, and obviously do a better job vetting and just not being so fucking stupid. Like, who is that dumb to share all that, I don't know, passwords, basically two-factor authentication with all of your personal finance stuff, man. Like, in my mind, it's like Otani almost deserves to go to prison for being that stupid.
Yeah, that's a great point. Andy, any thoughts around this? Either questions?
I'm with you guys. Like, I have never seen an investigation move this quickly. I've also think like that's crazy. Like, how naive can you be? And let's think about this guy over here, right? Otani. I mean, like, obviously, some people might say, like, because he's so focused on the sports and the training, maybe that's why he doesn't have the time to keep up with his finances and whatever. But also, like, a guy like that, not realizing that, his bank account was just draining $16 million. Come on. Like, I
I
just
mean,
don't see it happening.
I get it. Like, 16 million. Like, if you have hundreds and hundreds of $1 million, like, to us, like, if we saw like 6K just roll out of our bank account, we kind of look, what's going on here, right?
Yeah.
So I would, in my mind, that's how I kind of look at, for me, that's what 6K would be like, 16 million to Otani, right? I'd
Right,
still
right.
I'd still have to bat my eye a little bit, no matter how much money I have. It's like, damn, that's still a lot of coin going somewhere.
Right, but you also think about what this guy's lifestyle is like. It's not like he's one of those athletes that go out there and drops like 100K at a night out in LA, right? So, like, his bank account would typically just probably only go up and up. Like, it's not like he has a lot of spending. It's like in the credit and debit section, when you look at it, I feel like it's just really, like, that just doesn't add up to me, honestly. And very, very surprised. Also because, like, I'm sure, like, I don't know what his, like, preferred method of spending is, whether it's a credit card or whether it's a Japanese issued credit card. Like, I'm
I'm
not
sure if
really
you ask
sure.
him, Andy, he'd tell you, and he'd give you the password so you could see it.
Right, like, how crazy is that? So, like, I feel
Idiot.
like yeah, like, I think it's something is fishy. I even saw in the reports that this bookie guy wrote texted the translator, is like, or the translator texted the bookie and said, hey, like, have you seen the reports? And even the bookie wrote, yeah, but that's all bullshit. Obviously, it's a cover job. I totally get it. So I feel like, you know uh very, very, very sus that the investigation unfolded this quickly. But even if he were innocent, like, fire everybody. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, like, your financial advisors, like, your anybody around them, like, nobody realized that's crazy to me.
Yeah, that's my point, right? okay, let's leave the agent, right? Because agent is just there to acquire more money.
Yeah.
I can understand him not having the banking details, but the fucking financial advisor not having access to everything and being like, okay, like, all right, this other guy, not Ohtani, is telling me to do all this shit,
Translator. Yeah.
and like not double checking with Ohtani, and everybody is good with it. That's fishy too.
My thing is did the translator have like power of attorney? Like to act on the behalf of Ohtani for all of these financial transactions? Because I mean, you guys, I mean, especially you, Andrew, you're in finance, man. Like, you know, the amount of privacy, law issues here, and just the, all of the business laws that go into that, from a legality standpoint. Like, ain't no way just some guy that he's just translating the the dialogue between the agency that's handling his money and Otani. It's like, you got to have more power than that. You'd have to have some type of legal document saying that he can act on his behalf. But I would also say, go ahead, sorry, Naveen.
Yeah, apparently, just a quick point. Apparently, he pretended to be Ohtani in calls.
Oh my God. Okay, so there we go. We have even bigger, problems there. But I think Ohtani is such, and the reason why it moves so quickly is I think it comes back to money too, right? Ohtani is such a brand himself. The only reason the Feds move so quickly on this whole Ohtani situation is because of how much money he makes his organization, how much he makes Major League Baseball. So, they moved it forward because I think the parties that were involved in this, they wanted to get it behind them. They didn't want that black eye for not only Ohtani, but they didn't want a Pete Rose situation where, there's this rain cloud hanging over Major League Baseball. There's so many parties that are probably involved in this. I mean, because you think about all of the sports books. Think about those cats, right? They're trying to make sure that they can continue to hold the belief of the bettors, like, hey, this shit is all above board. They don't want states looking at them saying, is this going to be a problem with players betting into the games, and then having this whole microcosm of not being able to trust the sports books anymore. So that hurting the dividends on the sports books. There are so many people, I think, involved in that, where it's like, we have to get this done. Like, we don't care how much it costs, how many resources have to be thrown at this, but it goes to the top of the politicians that are lobbying for sports books to be legal in certain states because they're going to get some push or kickback from it. It's all incestual in nature, and Ohtani is definitely a beneficiary of it all. But guys, he's got to be less of a dumbass moving forward.
Cool. I think the next topic we're going to talk about is the Masters. Tiger has made the cut. So what is that? 24 straight cuts.
My dude, Kobe Bryant.
Yep, 24. So on the leaderboard side, we got, as of last night, I haven't kept up with it today, but we got Bryson, Homa, and Scheffler in a three-way tie for first. Andy, let's get your thoughts about how the Masters is going so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would admit that I said something that's completely opposite last week. I thought it was gonna be, because at least at the time when we looked at the weather forecast, it was gonna be nice and beautiful down there. But clearly the weather gods decided to play a little bit, and now all 3 days they're battling a lot of wind, wet and cold conditions on round one. So it's gonna be one of those Masters that I think really, like, the leaderboard right now. Like, you look at how DeChambeau and Scotty sort of were able to put up numbers on round one, but on round two they stayed pretty much like par, maybe one over, right? So it's gonna be tough. Like, if the conditions are like this, I mean, even today I look at it and I'm seeing the players, like, other than Hideki, like, everybody's just basically making par and content with it. So I think it's gonna be one of those high scoring round three, round four. If anyone is within like 4 to 5 shots back. It could be really anyone's game, just depending on the wind. Wind is brutal right now. Yesterday, I think only like 7 players shot under par. So that is like how crazy it's been. Everybody's been shooting like even to like a bogey or a double bogey. Like that includes like Scotty Scheffler, Bryson, just about anybody that's at the top of the leaderboard. One name I would pay attention to is Morikawa. So Morikawa started out really bad in the first round, the first 9. I think that's when when he just sort of couldn't adjust to the wind and such. But then since then he's been on a tear. He shot 2 under. So he had the best second best score. Oberg was the only one who shot better than him at 69. Morikawa shot a 70. Now he's sitting only 3 back. He has experience. He's finished within the top 10 at the Masters before, and he's like a Sunday player. So like I do expect that he's gonna be charging ahead. He has won the majors before as well. He's won the PGA Championship and he's won the British Open. So the experience is there. So I think it's gonna be Scheffler, Morikawa, and DeChambeau. Again, like I'm just picking the 3 players that have the experience to fend off and sort of deal with that pressure of being in the leaderboard. I don't think Homa is honestly like gonna be in the picture. I think the pressure will kind of get to him. He's striking great. But yeah, I just kind of see it as a 3-way race. Obviously, the Scheffler is heavy favorite, just given he's the number 1 golfer, and rightfully so. We even called out that the best bet would be just betting Scotty Scheffler at plus 400, right? So I think it's going just about as expected on that front. But I think it's surprising to see DeChambeau playing so well. So it's gonna make it a very exciting finish on Sunday. Really looking forward to it.
Josh, you got any thoughts?
Man, Andy did a really comprehensive review of what's going on there. I don't have a whole lot more to add other than, it's good seeing my man Scotty. I picked Scotty last week in the best bets to win the Masters. So, so far so good. But, being in the leaderboard on Thursday and Friday typically doesn't mean much. I think we've had one guy go, wire to wire. I think that was like 2019. So it doesn't happen very often. So, especially with these conditions, it really puts kind of a dampening, so to speak, on the Masters weekend. But hey, man, a lot of good golf still to come. I think down the stretch tomorrow, we'll see some separation go down. I think the conditions are going to get a little bit better tomorrow, but yeah, man, favorite time of the year, Masters. Love Andy's background there. For those that are not podcasting and are watching the YouTube video, but yeah, it's going to come down to I think Scotty and looks like unfortunately Naveen's favorite golfer, Bryson DeChambeau. They have been neck and neck throughout this. I don't see Homa continuing to play as great, like Andy said, but who knows? You just never know. And again, like we opened up with, it's great to see my man Tiger out there. Shout out May 1st. Tiger's brand will be launching, with all the Tiger polo, the Tiger hat. He's no longer with Nike and he's got his own brand now. I won't lie. I'm a pretty big fan of it. So I'm probably going to be May 1st on my computer, logging in, trying to get as much Tiger merch as I can on that day. So cut the check. So love Masters. It's going to be great. Wish I was down there, but kind of glad that I'm not because of the bad weather. So anyway, Naveen, your thoughts?
My thoughts are anybody but Bryson. I really don't like his attitude. He has a quality of someone, the type of person that I think I hate the most in the world.
He's got a very punchable face.
Which is,
Yeah.
I think he thinks that he is outrageously smart, but in reality, he's just very, very average intellect. Yes, he does take a more scientific approach to golf, and we don't see other players doing what he's doing. But at the end of the day, like when it comes down to winning loads and loads of tournaments. I think he's very good, but he's not outstanding to the point where like everybody should be preaching his philosophy. In the past, like he's blamed his clubs. He does every gimmick possible, right? 3D printed irons, right? Blame the gloves. Be have a terrible attitude in press conferences where you should just be kind of content and really focused on what you're doing. At the end of the day, golf is like a leisurely one-on-one sport, and throughout the tournament, it just happens. It's averages. So I can't stand him. As for the Masters, I would say I'd like to see either Max Homa or Scotty Scheffler. Scotty Scheffler is from the next town over from me in New Jersey. And that would be great. Like New Jersey
boys. Yeah.
And it's an interesting point because his wife is pregnant. So he said that if his wife goes into labor, he would go and leave the tournament. So I just want to ask you guys again. So when it's your opportunity to win a Masters, right? And it's your firstborn child, which one are you gonna choose? Are you gonna go back to play and try to win? Or are you going to your son? Or are you going to your son or daughter? Andy?
I mean, I think I don't have the experience yet, so I think perhaps Josh is the best suited to answer this question. But I've read that Phil Mickelson had the same arrangement as Scotty is right now. Back when he was expecting in like '99, and that was before he even won his first Masters. So I think for Scotty, I mean, he's already won a Masters once. I mean, obviously, winning it multiple times is everyone's dream. But if he feels the need to go support the family, like I don't think I would be, opposed to it. He's still got a lot of years ahead. I mean, I feel like it's just even more of a a BDE move. Like, hey guys, whatever, you guys can have the Masters without me. I'm confident enough. I can come back and win it next year. And I think one interesting thing I've learned this year is that Augusta doesn't give out multiple jackets. If you win multiple times, you just get to wear your jacket that you won before. So it's like, if you're not getting a second green jacket, like, all right, well, like once a champion, always a champion. You get to be invited to to the dinner every year, whether you won it once or twice. So if he feels like he wants to go there and support and be there, then I don't have any problem with it. I think it's commendable.
Josh, any thoughts there?
Man, you guys are trying to get me put on the couch, man. That's a really tough one, man. I've I have 3 kids. Unfortunately, only been able to be at 2 of the births. But just knowing how crucial that is to be there to support your spouse or your baby mama or whatever. It is pretty important. So as much as it would sting to give up a Masters trophy, I think I would have to I'd have to go there to the delivery and make sure that I'm there to support not only my wife but also my kid. But I would hope that later on in life, my son would be like, Dad, what were you thinking? You should have just stayed there. That's the type of kid I want. You should have. Hey, I would have never known. You didn't even have to tell me, right? Unless my birthday absolutely lined up with the end of the Masters, I would never really know. So maybe I'm hedging a little bit of what I'm saying with the support. Maybe roll the dice. I don't know. I think you can do some things to be very deliberate. Hopefully, there's no high risk or anything there with the pregnancy, but maybe set an induction date for the day after the Masters or something. There's things you can do. Yeah, with your question, the way you're posing it, let me ask: have I won a Masters before, or would this be my first Masters?
So exact Scotty situation. So if it's second Masters, you're going for your second Masters, and then first Sun. I think if it's
if it's my first Masters and first Sun,
yeah, you got to go Masters.
Masters,
That's for me.
bro.
That's for me. Yeah.
Hey, green and yellow, baby. Put it on me. Like, I need the jacket. I'll see you at the delivery room. All right. I'll catch you. I'll let you. I'll wrap you up in the baby burrito, and I'll let you sleep in the trophy. There in the delivery room, man. Yeah, I'll wrap you up in my green jacket, whatever it is. You know, but I'm not missing the opportunity to win the Masters Championship. Okay. Now, if it was my second one, yeah, I'll be there. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I want to close things out with best bets from everybody. I'm going with a couple that we talked about from the Squaring the Circle pod with Chase. So we had Gaethje minus 150 and UFC 300 and Aljo minus 175. If you want to learn more, please visit our YouTube page, and we have a full UFC preview of UFC 300 tonight. It's nonstop action. Basically, you have 9 or 10 fights that you can watch as opposed to like 3 on a usual UFC card that are important. So just want to preview that. And I want to give you Dodgers Padres over 9.5 plus 110. That is, I think, a pick here that's gonna prove very beneficial. We have 2 pitchers that have pitched less than 50 innings in the MLB total. Yesterday we went to extras. So you know, we have a depleted relief pitching. So I think that's a perfect storm for it going over again. Josh?
Yeah, guys. Tennessee's going to sweep LSU. It's a done deal. They're not the same team that they were last year. They being LSU, and neither is Tennessee. I think Tennessee's going to get their first league sweep this weekend, and I'm glad it's against those guys down from LSU. So I'd go money line on Vols. At the time of this recording, we don't have the money line spreads and all that for the games tomorrow. But yeah, I would just go money line on both, because we're gonna get the ace pitcher probably this afternoon from LSU. I still think Tennessee. To our points earlier in the show, we just got the offensive power that LSU doesn't have. So Tennessee money line, get the sweep, get paid. Not a great value, but still go get paid.
Andy?
Yeah, just my pick would be the Timberwolves at home versus the Phoenix Suns. Shout out to Naveen, his team. I think they're gonna finish strong. You know, the regular season at least. I know Naveen's skeptical about the playoff success, but just playing off of that, I think you know, they're probably gonna finish first in the West and give their fans a little false hope, just for them to get crushed in the postseason. That being said, like Suns, you know, they also need a win to secure the 6th seed in order to avoid falling into the wild card game. So both teams are gonna go at full strength, no like resting. It's the final day. And I just think that it's interesting, given all of those implications, you know, with Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Bill all playing, that Timberwolves are still a 4.5 point favorite. I think this is Vegas baiting people to take the juicy Suns money line, or, you know, the 4.5, thinking, oh, wow, 4.5, you're giving me 4.5 on a playoff like environment with KD on it. So I think for that reason, I'm going with the Wolves minus 4.5.
Okay. We've covered a lot today, a lot of different topics, a lot of Vols, a lot of MLB and Ohtani updates, the Masters, and yeah, like the disaster at Kentucky. So just want to say thank you guys for listening. Subscribe to us at Lucky Top Sports on all platforms. And, let's win and let's go Vols.
TBO, orange-white game. Hey, we're going to win no matter what.
All right, guys. Thank you.